religion news service. They are, quote, busier than ever right now. High gas prices also are causing delays in the transport of food from farm to market and from market to food banks. This is SRN News. Millions of solar rooftop panels in California could soon cause groundwater contamination.
The life cycle of solar panels is around 25 years, at which point they go to landfills. The problem is the toxic heavy metals in the panels leach into the soil, contaminating groundwater. In the decades that panels have been used, a plan to dispose of them safely was never devised. Some experts say that the focus has always been on getting people to buy them, not on how to safely dispose of them. Tasha Stevens reporting.
Sri Lankan lawmakers have met to begin choosing a new leader to serve the rest of the term abandoned by the president who fled abroad and resigned after mass protests over the country's economic collapse. A day earlier, Sri Lanka's prime minister was sworn in as interim president until parliament elects a successor to the leader who fled, whose term ends in 2024. You'll find more on these stories at srnnews.com.
The following program is sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Get ready with your legal questions and call Patrick now. 877-943-9673. Again, that's 877-943-9673. The law office is open. And now your host, Patrick Smith.
Oh, hi there, and welcome to another edition of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, and we are with you for the next hour to answer your legal questions. Let's jump right in and get the show started. Give us a call now. Open studio lines, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673, and we encourage you to call in now with your legal question, 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. You can always email us your question, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. You can email your questions there. Email us through the website directly, attorneypatricksmith.com. So check it out. The new website, which was recently launched a few weeks back, getting lots of good feedback, lots of people loving what we've done with the website. So check it out. You can visit attorneypatricksmith.com, listen to all the old archived shows. You can listen to them on demand and stop, pause, and rewind as many different times you want. If you want to go back and listen to our shows on Florida homestead law, if you want to listen to our show on the Dobbs versus Jackson opinion, overturning Roe versus Wade. So you can go back and sort of listen to all those shows at your speed and kind of digest and take notes and listen to any of our former broadcasts at attorneypatricksmith.com. But we'd love to talk to you today. To give us a call now, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. You can give us a call now. We're live and local, happy to help any way that we can. And while they're getting the calls screened, let's introduce the gang. We got the whole crew here today. Yana, the Bella Russian producer. We have Brian, the call screener, screening your calls. Lexi, the intern. And our very special guest, my good friend, Brandon Rhymes. Brandon, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. How are you, buddy?
Hey, bud. Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me.
Brandon,
excited about getting on air with you in 14 stations across the state. Thousands of listeners. Appreciate it, man.
Second time I think Brandon's been on the show, to the 5 Times Club. So
awesome.
I'm looking forward to that celebration when it happens. And we've got Lexi, the intern, in here, who's going to be handling the email questions. And we've got our first caller of the day. Let's go to Pinellas Park and let's talk to Joseph. Joseph, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hello. Thanks for having me on the program.
Sure, Joseph.
My question is related to homeowners insurance. I went through probate court with the local attorney. The house was awarded. I went through and I filed all the papers and I got that homestead rebate. That might not be the exact term, but whatever the legal document is. And I provided all the information to the mortgage company, and they transferred the title. I don't know, guess it's title, into my name, well, into the estate of my brother, and I am the executor of the estate. But the insurance, the homeowner's insurance, is listed on what's my legal standing if something happens, if hurricane came through here, and how am I covered, if I'm covered at all?
So you said you have an attorney representing you on this. Is that correct?
No, that was the probate attorney, and I went through that. That was almost 2 years ago now, and now I'm looking at the estate different from how he represented me through probate.
So what happens when a loved one passes away and the home is transferred as part of a probate action? If it's the person's homestead property into lineal descendants under a Snyder versus Davis analysis, it's a situation where the property passes by homestead order. And there's some particular rules about homestead and kind of when it triggers. There's what we call the annulment clause. So the decedent from whom you received this property, Joseph, was that person, were you their lineal descendant? Were you directly connected to them? Okay, that'll work for this analysis. So when he passed, you more than likely received the property by what we call a homestead order. And that homestead order, a lot of people get confused by it because they say, well, where's my deed? I didn't see a deed putting the property in my name. That homestead order effectually is a deed. It's a transfer from, it's recognizing, memorializing the fact that the moment your loved one entered eternity and owned this homestead property under Article 10, Section 4 of the state constitution, the annulment clause says that title immediately vested in you as the lineal descendant. So that's to protect the property from any creditor claims. And I think that's where the issue is. If you go back and look at that homestead order, it's going to show that the property is yours. So as far as any insurance, the insurance should have been updated when the property was transferred to you, because at that point, you're the one with the insurable interest in the property. Have you gone back to your former counsel to ask them what they thought of the question?
No.
Okay. Well, I was just curious because it sounds like something that, would have been addressed at the time. I mean, if this case has been over for a while, Joseph, it seems like a situation where you may have been relying on the decedent's homeowner's insurance policy a little longer than usual. So you want to go and get your own policy at this point if the property's been transferred to your name.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Joseph?
Yes. All I need to do is bring the home up to the code that the insurance company requires: roof inspection, electrical inspection, and miscellaneous items that they need.
So is that the reason you've been sort of hanging out under the decedent's insurance policy? Because getting new insurance would require the roof inspection and all these other code enforcement issues to make sure you're up to speed?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. He has fuses instead of circuit breakers.
Yeah, you're going to have to deal with those issues, unfortunately, because you've got the insurable interest in the property and you got to get your own homeowner's insurance. And by the way, when you speak with your insurance professional, make sure you talk to them about whether or not you need some good umbrella coverage and whether or not that would optimize your protection, okay?
Okay, umbrella coverage, I get that.
Yeah, I'm not an insurance salesman, so I'm not licensed to do any of that, but I know enough to tell you what to ask them when you go and talk with them, okay, Joseph?
Yes, that's wonderful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Joseph. Have a great Saturday, okay? All right.
He's going to need a new breaker box, too, most likely.
Yeah, Brandon says he's going to need a new breaker box. It sounds like it's pretty old. I mean,
yeah.
If it's that.
You can get a 4-point inspection for $125.
Exactly.
4-point.
But I know they're really cracking down on roofs right now, especially if the roofs are, I think it's more than 16 years old. They want to see those replaced, show that they're up to code.
Yep.
So 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. With me in studio, our very special guest, Brandon Rhymes, host of the Consumer Quarterback, heard here on numerous stations throughout the Tampa Bay area. And you're on daily.
Yeah, daily
broadcast.
That's right. Daily Fuck Drive Time, 860 The Answer, Tampa Bay, weekends on 102.5 The Bone.
That is a different creature altogether to a daily broadcast. I love my once a week broadcast. I can't imagine doing it daily. So our hats off to you for that, buddy. All right. 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. Attorney Patrick Smith calling with your legal question or your real estate question for Brandon Rhymes. 877-943-9673. Next, we're going to Zephyr Hills and we're going to talk Gloria. Gloria, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Thank you very much for listening to me.
Oh, happy to help, Gloria. What's going on?
My husband received notice that he's included in a class action lawsuit, and that if he doesn't opt out of it, he may be liable for all costs that they endure.
Yes, ma'am. That's accurate. So they're going to send you a notice to let you know that you're going to be included as a member of the class and you have a right to opt out. And if you're not opting out, then they're basically letting you know that as a member of the class, the costs are you are on the hook as a member of the class for the cost. But usually that means that when they settle, you're aware of the fact that before you get anything from that class action settlement, first, all of the costs and attorney's fees and everything else will be paid. So it's basically a way of putting you on notice that if they settle it for $100 million, you're not immediately entitled to your share of $100 million. It's letting you know that the costs have to come off first, and you agreed to that when you agreed to be a member of the class versus opting out of the class. You have the right to do that and say, no, my particular claim or harm in this situation is not similar enough to all these members of the class that I want to opt out, and I will bear my own legal cost, and I will fight my own fight at my own expense to have an outcome that is specific to me as opposed to joining the class. Does that make sense, Gloria?
Well, it does, but it doesn't make sense that they can just pick you out of everything and say you're in, and we didn't even ask to be in. That was our problem.
Yeah, but the difference here is, I guess, whatever facts applied to you are similar enough to the class that they're including you, but they are following the procedure, it sounds like, and giving you the notice and the requisite period to opt out.
Okay, and they told us if they don't receive it by July 26th, I guess we're in. If you don't exclude yourself, what would be the best way to make sure that they get the letter?
I don't know. I have to look at the actual notice that they sent you. So if you want to just get it to me at the office, I'll be happy to take a look at it with you, Gloria, and make sure that procedurally you follow whatever it is to make sure you opt out of the class successfully, if that's going to be the most efficient path for you and your husband. And I'll even put you in touch with one of our civil litigators who can kind of review the facts and give you their opinion as to whether or not you should opt out or whether you should just stick as a member of the class. So we'll do everything we can to help you make the best decision, Gloria, okay?
All right, I really appreciate that, and we enjoy your show.
Oh, Gloria, I appreciate your kind words. You enjoy the rest of your Saturday, okay?
Yes, we will.
All right. Bye-bye. All righty. 877-943-9673. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Open studio lines. Give us a call now. 877-943-9673. Joining me in studio, our very special guest, host of the Consumer Quarterback Show, Brandon Rhymes. All righty. Next, we are going to go to Palm Harbor, and we're going to talk to Veronica. Veronica, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hi, thank you.
Hey, Veronica. What's going on?
Yes, by going ahead.
Are you there, Veronica?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know what you said. My question concerns parking in the neighborhood. My neighbor across the street and down a little bit that always insists on parking either one or two cars, usually one, every day in front of my house, and not his, even when he has an open space in front of his house. And this is a suburban neighborhood in Palm Harbor, and I just wondered, I looked it up and I see that the streets are open to everybody. They can park wherever they want. But before I talk to them, I just wanted to know how I could approach it.
Well, I think with neighbors, it's always, a situation where I like to take what I call the Mayberry approach. And, the thing I love about watching the Andy Griffith Show with my father growing up was the wonderful thing about Sheriff Taylor was he never wore a gun, or rarely wore a gun. Huh. And, even Barney had a gun, but he had no bullet. And that was always the famous one-liner was, Barney, get your bullet. But the point being, when Sheriff Taylor would go about solving problems, he's the law in that town, but he rarely played the law card. The card that he played was, I'm your neighbor. Let's sort this. And I think that's the approach you take here, Veronica. You say, hey, look, I happen to notice that you guys are regularly parking in front of my house. If it were me, I would take it as a compliment. I say, look, I appreciate that you're such a fan of my house that you want to park your car there so people think it's yours. That's super cool. But I was just wondering if there's any way that you could park elsewhere and just sort of feel them out, and maybe do something even more neighborly than that. Do you know the neighbors? Have you ever met them in a social setting or anything like that?
No, in fact, the only way I knew it was their car, because I thought it was my next door neighbor's car, because I know them. I just don't know if car is theirs, but I thought it was theirs. So I didn't even, when I figured out our way that we had to have a tree removed, so we had to go around and find out whose car it was. So that's how I found it out. That was just about a week ago.
Do an open house or like a neighborhood barbecue or some kind of neighborhood event and invite everyone. So it's not just specific to this particular neighbor, but invite everyone. And when they're there, casually in passing, say something and just sort of lightly brush up against it and use what we call the sonar strategy. That's how sonar works. Is it's not what you send out, it's what bounces back that tells you everything. And they may say something like, oh, we parked there because of this, and it's going to be some completely legitimate reason, and at the end of the day, it could also be something frivolous, but you can kind of get a lot of sense of the temperature of the neighbor just by how they respond to it. But in that social setting, where everyone's a little more relaxed and having a good time, the conversation will go as best as it could, I think, Veronica. It may not go well. I mean, sometimes the neighbors are just uncooperative, and there's nothing you can do to really solve that problem. It's just a matter of dealing with an angry or disgruntled neighbor. And I just think that's what you try first before you send letters and before you,
Right.
Have an attorney reach out or anything like that. That's just sort of cold. And you got to live next to this person down the street from them for years, foreseeably for the future. So I think that's probably, and you're right, the thoroughfare, public parking on the street is public parking. Anyone can park there. So it's kind of odd that they always choose to park in front of your home. I agree. And that's probably a great way to handle it. Say, hey, I can't help but notice you always park in front of our house. Is it because you're such a big fan, or is there another reason, or whatever? Like, just, give them room to explain why they always pick your house. Because like you said, it's pretty far down the street. And for whatever reason, it's the spot they like. So just give them a chance to explain.
Okay. All right, I'll give it a try. Thanks so much.
And Veronica, call back and let us know what they say. I'm kind of curious. And if you're Veronica's neighbor and you're out there and you're listening and you want to call in and just go ahead and tell us the reason, we'd love to hear that too. So, but Veronica, thanks for calling the show. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. All righty. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Call us now, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. Give us a call now, live and open studio lines. We'll get you right on the air. You can also email us, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, or submit your email address or submit your questions directly to the website at attorneypatricksmith.com. And Brandon, I know you work in real estate daily, and before we go to Vincent's call, I just want to talk a little bit more about, people factor in a lot of things when they look at buying a home. They factor in square footage. They factor in age of the house. Does it have a pool? Is it on the water? Right. But I think one of those factors, in Veronica's call makes this point beautifully, one of the factors that often goes overlooked, the neighbors.
Yeah.
And we have such fantastic neighbors. And I think that that's priceless when you have amazing neighbors who surround you.
Right.
So, I mean, how often do you see people in real estate transactions actually consider the neighbors and go and meet a neighbor before they purchase a home?
Well, yeah, the diligent ones will. They'll go door knock and introduce themselves before the closing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the right time to do it before the closing, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. So that's a big part of it. The homeowners association, buried pipes. I mean, there's a lot of things you got to make sure. I just heard a story about somebody losing an escrow deposit, $50,000 escrow deposit because it's something that fell out, but there was also a pipe in the backyard, so they couldn't put their pool back there. I mean, that's before the contract closes, doing your due diligence. That's the time to come up with all these questions.
So I will tell you two funny stories quickly before we take Ben's call. The neighbor, when we started building, we were new construction. So my gorgeous wife has a heart the size of Texas. She made these beautiful gift baskets for our neighbors. and like down to dog treats for their dogs. Like she had learned that much about them, including like a bottle of Advil for any headaches that the construction produced for them, and like gift certificates for car washes and things like that.
That's
and
awesome.
Then during the construction, this was probably the funniest thing that happened. The dead men that hold the seawall, they're called dead men. I don't know if you know that, but they're just big cement slabs that hold the sea place. Well, they were out of position and they had to be moved. Well, one of our neighbors heard something about a dead man in the backyard and started telling everyone, they found a dead man. and so, not an actual dead man. So, all righty. 877-943-9673. Vincent, thank you for your patience. You're on the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. How can we help you today?
I keep getting soliciting emails from the site. I have emailed them repeatedly. I don't emails. I got their phone number. I gave them my email. Oh, you won't hear from us anymore. No more emails. And yet, every day I get an email soliciting from this place, from this website.
That's odd. So you've done the unsubscribe feature on the actual email, I'm guessing, correct?
Right.
Get a confirmation of that, correct?
No, they don't. They didn't send me one.
Well, normally something will pop up on your screen saying you've successfully unsubscribed.
I got that I successfully unsubscribed. I even called the 800 number and talked to somebody, and they found my account where I, paid them to be on the site, and I told them I don't want to get no more emails. I don't want to subscribe to your services, but yet it's like they don't care. Every day I get an email soliciting 50% off, 25%, and we'll give you this. And it's like I've even used some bad language telling them where they can go and hopefully get me off. And this is harassment, but still the emails keep coming in every day.
Yeah, Vincent, I'm going to give you some advice to help you, but I can't help but share with you the visual going on in my head right now when you're describing this. I sometimes come in the neighborhood and I'll see a neighbor pressure washing their driveway, and I'm a little jealous. And I'll tell you why, Vincent. The reason why I'm jealous is I want to be that far down on my list of things to do that I'm pressure washing the driveway. I want to be so far down on my list of concerns that I'm concerned about unsolicited emails. So I'm not criticizing you, Vincent, but I'm just cherishing that your life is obviously so blessed that this is a concern. And I can see how it's frustrating, and I can see how it's annoying, because I get them too. I just choose to take the water off a duck's back approach and ignore them. But if you really want to engage, I guess you could send them a certified letter, find out their physical mailing address, and say, look, you guys are emailing me. At this point, it's harassing, and I'm asking you to cease and desist. And if you guys don't, then I'll have no choice but to get legal counsel, seek a legal remedy for these unsolicited emails. I think that's a path that's open to you. I mean, Vincent, I don't know how much energy you really want to put into that. I mean, how many times do you want to pressure wash the driveway? But at the end of the day, if this is what you want to do, buddy, it's a path to a remedy for these unsolicited emails.
Yeah, well, the way I see it is, I've asked them, it's like disrespect now. And it's like, I sued a company and they paid me off, and then they offered me so much. And I said, you know what, you pissed me off, and now you're going to pay me twice. And they did. It's a matter of principle now.
Right. This is Rambo too. This time it's personal. And I think that's what, listen, Vincent, I just, the sun's shining outside. It's a gorgeous day outside. I would just forget about the illicit emails. This is just my advice. This is not legal advice. This is just sort of practical advice.
Well, I just called to see if I had legal remedy on this, because
probably
they will stop it. If if I have legal remedy, then I'm going to go that route.
Well, it's like Patton said. I mean, I'm a big fan of General Patton, and he was a great general for our military. And it was a matter of him saying that you win wars not by winning battles, you win war by knowing which battles to fight. And I don't think this is a battle you want to fight, Vincent. But you're right. You probably do have legal remedy, and I think I've given you that answer. I mean, I think it's a cease and desist letter. They violate that, then you get an attorney and you bring some sort of action for harassment and sort of go from there.
Yeah. And if the lady needs help with that guy parking in, I got some cousins that will stop him from stopping parking in front of his house. That was an easy one.
But if your cousins are helping her with her car issue, how are they going to be helping you with the unsolicited emails?
No. No, my cousins would help her. They're all tatted up dudes. It's like, thank God.
Vincent, that surprised me at all. I appreciate you calling in, caller Vincent. You have a great Saturday, okay? All right. You're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. I'm your local Central Florida Attorney Patrick Smith. With me in studio, our very special guest, Brandon Rhymes. I want to remind everyone about our newest office down in Sarasota. So if you want to schedule an appointment there or any of our other office locations in Clearwater, Sun City Center, or over in Lake County, one toll-free number to schedule your complimentary consultation with me, Attorney Patrick Smith, 877-754-6764, 877-754-6764. That's your toll-free number to set up your complimentary consultation, usually for estate planning, where it's a complimentary consultation. You come in, we'll talk about your estate plan, what you and your family need, answer your questions, and give you our recommendations. Again, our rates. I know inflation's crazy right now, and a lot of things are getting more and more expensive. The one thing that's not, at least, the rates for our estate planning services, we're keeping them static to help you, citizens of this great state who need relief from rising prices. So our wills are still $75. Our power of attorney is still $95. Our living will is still $50. And our trust package, which includes all the above, plus the deed for the home, funding the property into the trust, $695. Not going to change those rates. So give us a call, and we will be happy to set you up with your complimentary estate planning consultation. 877-754-6764. And be part of our program today, 877-943-9673. Again, that toll-free number. Open studio lines will get you and your question right on the air. The question will be from me if it's a legal question. If it's a real estate question, we've got Brandon Rhymes in studio, the host of the Consumer Quarterback. So give us a call now, 877-943-9673, or submit your email question, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, or submit it directly to the website, attorneypatricksmith.com. Email questions. Let's go to the intern with our first email question of the day. Lexi, the floor is yours.
Sure. So the first question we have is, can I put my son's name on my deed?
Brandon, I'm going to let you take the number. Brandon's not a licensed attorney, but he does work in real estate. So, Brandon, I just want you to comment on this question. How often do you see situations like this where parents are adding a child's name to a deed?
Yeah, you see that they want to utilize the quick claim deed. It's quick, right? So let's get that first.
Right.
Yeah, you do see that situation. Family members putting folks on, moving pieces around, and there are some misconceptions, with those areas. I'm sure, in the estate planning arena, you see that a lot as well, Patrick. And so that's
well. And in your world, I mean, let's say, for instance, and the short answer to the question is yes, you can put a child's name on the deed through a quick claim deed. You could use a warranty deed if you wanted, for the record. It'd just be a little more expensive and time consuming. But either way, you could successfully add a child's name to a deed, but there's some consequences from that. And sort of looking at your world, Brandon, the first most practical consequence I see is if you add a child's name to the deed and that parent decides to sell the home, well, guess whose permission they need to sell the home now?
Right.
They're going to need that child. And have you ever seen a situation where the child said, I don't think we should sell the home, and the parent says, I do want to sell the home, and now we're left looking at what we call a partition action, and the only winners in partition actions are usually the lawyers.
Yeah. Well, my favorite deals to take are the ones where there's 3 siblings and they're all in different states, or maybe 4 siblings spread out across the country. And then, so you basically have to sell the deal 3-4 different times, and it ends up being such a headache. And some of the deals, sometimes when I look at them, I'm like, the price point, the dynamics, I'll pass on that one.
Well, it's like a situation where you get an intestate administration, so there's no designated wishes, no memorialized wishes for any of the decedents. And the situation is such that we all get along,
Right.
and it's like, great, you all get along right now. Let's get a few weeks into this process and see how.
Yeah.
And a lot of I love seeing those situations, but oftentimes they turn sideways, and that leads to number one, attendance. Now you're going to be tethered child to get their permission, and also with that child's name on the deed, if that child's involved in some sort of litigation like a divorce, a bankruptcy, auto accident, and they get sued, now your property's potentially on the hook for that.
Yeah.
I think people also turn a blind eye to gift taxes.
Right.
I think people often forget that there is gift tax out there. And so when you look at the gift tax, there's a present interest annual exclusion of $16,000 per person per year. But you add a child's name to a deed, unless it's a very small home, it's probably going to be beyond that. So there could be gift tax implications as well. If it's your homestead and the child has their own homestead, you could be losing part or all of your homestead because someone can't have two. Yes, I don't think the most optimal way to go, because I think that often people do that. They're worried about probate, and there's far more efficient strategies for avoiding, like living trust.
Right.
Avoid the probate process, avoid gift taxes, and just maintain homestead exemption like they currently have it. So I think it's a far superior strategy than just adding a child's name to a deed. But the question was, can you? Yes, you can. So maybe you have a question about adding someone's name to a deed or any other legal question. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. And you can call in now, live and local. Open studio lines will get you and your question right on the air. Encourage you to call in. 877-943-9673. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith, and this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. And with us, our very special guest, Brandon Rhymes, host of the Consumer Quarterback. Give us a call now. You can talk with me or Brandon. 877-943-9673, or email me, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. So I know, Brandon, we often hear people talking about giving tips for buyers and sellers, but do you have any tips for buyers, sellers, and kind of how do the tips differ between buyers and sellers?
Yeah. So the market is shifting. That's the biggest thing. A lot of people need to just understand, that right now the market is shifting. It's in the process of a shift. I'm part of the Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment Division, so I'm on national calls where we're kind of working that market, athletes, musicians, actors. So it's cross country. So you've got to realize that the old way is not going to work, right? And so when I'm talking about seller side, which is where I focus more on the listing side, is when you think about pricing, it's very important not to get into a point where you're chasing the market. So 30 days from now, we got to do another price reduction, or we're going to do a price reduction. So what happens is a lot of times people kind of have that same mentality from 6 months ago with the multiple offers, waiving the inspections, addendum, sight unseen. It's a little bit more of a balanced market. We're moving towards balanced market. So that's for the seller side, making sure that there. Buy side, you still want to be diligent. You want to be early. You want to show up the day of, the morning of, that when that property hits the market. And if you're lucky to have relationships like we do, you can get off-market properties too, so we can help you with that. But on the buy side, I would say, look, make sure you have your pre-approval, proof of funds, everything there. And then there's also lenders now that have cash guarantee programs, and that is very, for the comforting for the seller. The seller knows, hey, if I accept this offer from John Smith, if his financing falls through, loses his job the day before closing, whatever that scenario is, the lender's putting it in writing. Hey, we'll purchase the property, or we'll give you $10,000, walk away, no questions asked. So those are two quick questions for buyers and sellers, or strategies for buyers and sellers.
Yeah, and I think definitely just in the sense of the number and the nature of the calls coming into the office, it definitely seems to me like the market is definitely cooling.
Yes.
And I don't know that it's cold, but it was just so scalding hot.
Yes.
For that brief period. And I think a lot of people are going to misread those tea leaves.
Right.
And say, well, the market's going to be getting cold. No, I just don't think it's going to be boiling at this point. It's going to be, just sort of comfortable soup temperature, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's going to be something that is going to still be a great time to buy and sell. But I think you're right. I think it's more of that equalization.
Right.
And it's not going to be so seller friendly at this point that it's, it's so tipped in favor of sellers at this point. Is that what you think?
Yeah. And what happens is, so the rates have gone up. What's the number one cause? The rates went up a little bit, right? So they're still at 5 to 5.5%, 6%.
Wow.
So the rates are still great comparable to 30, 40 year indexes, right? So when you think about the market in that sense, that you can still, and by the way, if you're renting, still great time, get out of the rent. The rents have been rising. So it's time to get into home ownership and start building up that wealth, building up that equity, having those homestead protections that you talk about all the time, and with your estate planning business. And so the market adoption rates are coming down. So it's taking longer to sell. Days on market are 10 to go up. You're seeing price reduction was the amount of people that have contracts exercising those inspection clauses, those financing contingencies, getting out because maybe they got into a deal that they're looking around and saying, wow, I didn't know it was going to be there. So they go to that substitute deal. So it's interesting. It's a moving, living, breathing thing, this market, and it's all local. So with Keller Williams Realty, we can connect you with a agent if you're thinking out of state, Georgia, North Carolina, wherever you need to be. We have a nationwide network that makes sure you're working with the best agent in whatever market.
And I think that is a big advantage because I think the market, for instance, where I went to law school in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, is obviously going to be drastically different than the market, say, in Tampa, Florida.
Absolutely.
And I think that the times when they align are going to be rarer than they are common. And I think that that's a great point about having a national team who can kind of, because if you're moving now, you may need someone to give you some perspective on that.
Exactly.
So if you move to Chapel Hill versus Raleigh or Durham or Charlotte, like you get an idea of what the fluctuations are. Like if you want to be in Charlotte still scalding hot, you're going to pay a premium for that. And probably the one market that demonstrates that is the Villages.
The Villages, yeah.
Well, and it's this unique little bubble.
What a unicorn that is.
Oh my gosh. And it is one of those situations where I had a client come in and they narrowed it down to between two homes. And one was a couple $100,000, and it was like sprawling land and a huge ranch style house. And it was not in the Villages. It was just outside of the Villages. And then they had their home in the Villages. It was classic 3-2, neighbor across the street, neighbor behind them, neighbor next door. You could jump from roof to roof.
Yep.
And it was 3 times the price.
Yeah, exactly.
And they said, but it's in the Villages.
You're in the circle now.
You're either in the Villages or you're not in the Villages. And they ultimately wound up going with that Villages home because they wanted that Villages ID card so they could participate in all the Villages activities. And a lot of my clients love the Villages.
The golf carts.
The golf cart accessibility for everything.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's one of those unique little bubbles where if you want to see a real estate market that's pretty much always scalding hot, I mean, the homes up there, they're building them still.
Yeah.
And as fast as they build them, they're sold.
Right.
And then the existing homes are still selling. So I don't know what your experience has been with the Villages, but my experience has been it's one of those unique examples. If you base the rest of the country on the Villages, you're going to misread a lot of things.
Right. Yeah. Well, that aging demographic that we have here in Florida, that's why we need more nurses. We need more doctors. That aging demographic. So it speaks to that, Patrick. And each market is different. When we're talking about North Carolina, I wanted to mention a listing, by the way, that we got.
Please do.
With Bill DeVore and his team at Keller Williams in Cashiers, North Carolina. So I know we're talking to the state of Florida here, and a lot of people have us in a big network. But if you're looking for the absolute best estate style, we're talking 20-acre estate in the mountains of Western North Carolina. This is in it's 530 Forest Drive, Cashiers, North Carolina. One of the most exclusive golfing areas. You're talking, high profile athletes, Michael Jordan, etc. Spending a lot of time there. This is a $10 million listing that we have, similar like a referral, but it's kind of like a co-listing. So I'm promoting it for my friend Bill DeVore and his team over at Williams Realty in that area. Beautiful property. If you're into equestrian, there's horse stalls. You got 8,000 square feet in the main home.
Wow. 8,000
square feet, gorgeous, and just the absolute best in upgrades and what you would expect for an estate style home. Second home as well. That's a 3-2. That's just a beautiful property and sprawling on 20 acres in the mountains of North Carolina. So Cashiers, North Carolina, 530 Heaton Forest Road. And consumerqb.com is where you can find our information. Consumerqb.com.
So you said Western North Carolina. So is that the Blue Ridge, or they in that mountain
Yeah.
range, or which mountain range are they in?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gorgeous over
Yeah.
there. So actually, my in-laws have a cabin right there on that North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia line where
Oh,
everything
that's
kind of
awesome.
yeah. It's beautiful. It is, but it's also a whole lot of nothing to do. If there's, and I'm a guy who likes to be active. So
Yeah.
I mean, if the Apple Festival's going on,
Yeah.
it's great. You get to shoot the apple cannon, try to win your jug of apple cider, get some apple donuts. It's great.
Yeah.
But other than that, not a lot to do up there. It's the
Right.
mountains. So you jog the mountain. That's cool. It is beautiful. I mean,
Maybe
it
some
is
hunting?
God's country.
Hunting and fishing.
I've been hunting. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
It's not my thing. I'll take deep sea fishing over hunting any day
Well, there
of
you
the
go.
week.
Yeah,
But
that's fun.
I no judgment on you hunters out there. You guys do your thing. I'm just not going to join you. So I've tried it, not my thing. So 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. We're live and local. Happy to help any way we can. Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. We're here to answer your legal questions. Within studio, our very special guest, Brandon Rhymes, those are the consumer quarterback, and we will be happy to answer any questions you have. 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673, or you can email me, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com. All right, let's go back to Lexi, the intern, for our second email question of the day. Lexi?
So the other question asks, if I own my home with another family member, what do I need to do to get the home into my name alone when he passes?
Well, this kind of goes to Joseph's question, the first call that we took on the show today, and it's a matter of how the deed is titled. So in Joseph's situation, it sounded like they're probate. And this question about the loved one being the title, it depends on how they're on the title. So, and Brandon can probably speak to this about the different ways you can hold title. You can hold it tenants by the entireties, which is husbands and wives, or now with same-sex marriage, husbands and husbands, or wives and wives, any spouse basically owning the property together. And then you also have joint tenants with the right of survivorship, and that's where you're in a non-marital relationship and you own the property, but that with a right of survivorship part means when A dies, B gets all the property. So if the property's owned with these two family members, A and B, joint tenants with a right of survivorship. By the way, in law offices, you'll hear attorneys and paralegals say JTWROS, they acronyms in law offices, and that's what that means, joint tenants with a right of survivorship. That means it's automatically going to the other person. Now, there's a trick to this one. You can actually, A and B own that property, JTWROS, but A, without knowledge of B, can sever that right of survivorship and actually put the property in someone else's name, and then B doesn't find out until A's passed.
Wow.
So that's the tricky part with owning property, joint tenants with a right of survivorship. Now, it's different than owning it as a married couple, tenants by the entirety. The spouse's joinder to transfer if the spouse's name is on that deed. And the last way is tenant in common. Now, if A and B own the property tenant in common, which is our default position under Florida real estate code, saying if it just says A and B, nothing else, that means A owns half, B owns half. So if A dies, A's half is going to have to be probated to get it to B. So it's going to depend on how that deed is structured as to whether or not that automatically goes to the surviving family member on the deed, or if it's going to have to be probated. If it has to be probated, then we ask a whole nother slew of questions. Is there a will? If there's no will, who are the heirs at law? And you can really get into some messy situations there. But all that is to say, when it comes to these things, you want to address them with a qualified estate planning attorney before they're needed. Right. That's why we call it estate planning and not estate reacting, because estate planning means we're trying to hedge our bets against these contingencies and guard and safeguard and make sure that your family is optimally protected while memorializing your wishes. So let's call now, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. With me in studio, special guest Brandon Rhymes, host of the Consumer Quarterback Show. And you can give us a call now, 877-943-9673. Great job with the email questions, Lexi. If you want to email more questions, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com. All right, now we're going to go to my hometown of Winter Haven, Florida, and talk to Rocky. Rocky, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Good morning. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Rocky. How's my hometown doing?
Hey, man, it's as beautiful as ever.
right, that's what I like to hear, Rocky. How can we help you?
Hey, buddy, I just got a quick question. We're buying a place or building a place up in Brazil, Indiana, and I own a home here in Florida paid for. Which, we get tax exempt because it's still our residence. If and there's some things right now I can't just turn it over to family members or nothing like that. And the tax exempt, is there any way of owning two homes and living in? I know, like when the snowbirds come down, they own a home here and then they own a home up in Indiana. And I was just wondering what's the best route as far as the tax on that home when we move out and my son takes it.
Yeah, Rocky, it's a great question. And I appreciate you calling in. So the short answer is it's a function of several different moving parts. It's going to be a function of Florida, Indiana state law. Now, you can't have two primary residences. So, and I know that's the game that snowbirds like to try to play one time, and they'll split it. This is the husband's primary residence, and the up north property is the wife's primary residence. I think that's playing with fire, and if you play with fire, you know what. I think that at the end of the day, Rocky, I think you need to consult a good Indiana attorney and say, what are my advantages to being an Indiana resident and anchoring my homestead in Indiana, and then maybe schedule an appointment with my office or some other qualified estate planning attorney and saying, what are my options and what are my advantages for being a Florida resident with Florida homestead? And then once you have both of those lists, sit down, review it, and you'll know how to optimally structure everything so that your wishes are honored and your son's protected. Go ahead, Rocky.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, that's what you got to do is run that analysis, sort of a pro forma analysis, and see kind of which state's going to optimize, because you can't have homestead exemptions on both properties. You can certainly have both properties, but you're right. One of those two states is going to tax it differently if it's your property and you're a non-resident of that state. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's what I needed to know. I didn't know if there was something that I didn't know so we wouldn't have to do it. But no, that answered my question.
By the way, Rocky, I don't know, does Winter Haven have an Aussie Grill yet? And I'll show you why I thought of Aussie Grill because of your question. Do you know what Aussie Grill is?
No, sir.
Okay. We have one in Clearwater. And if you've never been to an Aussie Grill, I was talking to Barry, the manager over there, and he said a lot of people just don't know we're here. So you're familiar with Outback, right, Rocky?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So imagine the best parts of Outback cherry picked and then put it in their own restaurant. This is all. There's a drive-through. There's a dine-in option. The chicken tenders are in the bloomin' onion batter. Right. That's the right response. And so I say that to say this. The other day I went in there and we were ordering chicken tenders, and I wanted 6 chicken.
Yeah.
I didn't, but they only go up to 5. And so I said, fine. May I have an order of 5 and an order of 1? Like, I think we can do. And I'll never forget what my wife said, but this is what made me think of it in light of your question. She goes, well, did you go down the list and do the math as far as which combination would be the cheapest to order? Like, is it cheaper to order 5 and 1, 4 and 2, 3 and 3? And I said, no. I didn't sit there and do the calculus on my order. I just went with 5 and 1. But in essence, you're going to do that calculus because it's actually, it's worth it. It's not a lunchtime decision. This is a years long and heavily economic decision that's going to weigh on you. So run the numbers and see where you're going to pay taxes most, and then optimally situate your residency accordingly to protect yourself, Rocky.
You got it, buddy. And man, I appreciate your help this morning.
Oh, Rocky, we're happy to help. Good luck with everything. I'll say a prayer for you. If you're building, I've been through that. I know what it's like, brother, and I will say a prayer for you.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Lord bless you, man, today, okay?
Thank you, Rocky. You have a great day. All right, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, and we are almost out of time. Brandon, why don't you give everybody your contact information?
Yeah, reach out directly at our hotline. It's 813-917-1894. You can call or text that hotline, 813-917-1894. And the website is consumerqb.com. consumerqb.com.
And thank you so much, Brandon, for being with us today. Thank you for Alexi, the intern, Yana, the Bella Rusher producer, Brian, the call screener, everybody else. If you want to reach me during the week at the office, 877-754-6764. I'm attorney Patrick Smith. And again, that number, 877-754-6764. This is attorney Patrick Smith signing off, saying God bless, stay safe, and go Gators.
The proceeding was sponsored by the